All right, ladies and gentlemen, is your favorite warlock here, practicing necromancer. Today, I want to kind of just bring to you the importance of reflection of self. Why is reflection of self important? It's important because of the things that you have experienced, meaning the past. It doesn't just influence who you are today, but it also impacts who you will become in the future. Okay. What kind of examples do you want to leave behind, so to speak? Okay. As a practitioner, reflection upon your journey is important. Taking notes, taking a journal, if you will, a journal entry on a daily basis, reflecting over meditations, over your rituals, your ceremonies, your communion with spirits. Hell, even if you're not, excuse me, even if you're not doing rituals, you know, think of it as studying. Even if you're on the job, if you've had a stressful day at the office, did you ever reflect, take that time to reflect and meditate upon the day's events, things that caused injury to you, no matter how serious or how minor? It still has played a role in your development. For an example, I'm going to use some personal examples here in my personal life. My family, my biological family, I didn't know my father until about 10 years ago. My mother would rather spend her life in and out of prison than to straighten up and take responsibility for her life. You know, she and my uncles were known as the Terrible Four, you know? So I was abandoned at birth, basically. 3 years old, ending up in the system. That's right, the system. Okay, I grew up in foster care. No wonder I'm already fucked up right there, Just kidding. But but yeah, it does play a part in how you are developing into who you become. So you're ripped away from your family, the only environment that you know. You're placed in a place that you've never been. And then you have your first spiritual encounter 2 years later. 6 years later, you delve into the occult for the first time. By this time, you've lost family members, you've been losing friends left and right to death, and you find yourself rejected by the opposite sex because of what you practice, the way you dress, your basic school BS. Everybody wants to be either a jock, a geek, an athlete, or whatever. You know, whatever group that you find yourself fitting into. You graduate from high school, you get out into the real world, you fall into the same snares as everybody else, working your ass off for somebody else's benefit. You know, you end up losing the last of your high school friends about 3 years after high school. and you continue to practice. You end up traveling. You end up becoming homeless in two different cities. You make acquaintances, friends, allies who teach you things and initiate you into their cultures and their practices. And here you find yourself over 25 to 30 years in the future, after you began your journey into the occult, you find yourself a practicing necromancer. And 7.5 months into your spiritual journey, you have an epiphany. That light bulb comes on. And you're left wondering, how did I not see death following me? I mean, look at the signs. As a necromancer, you're a solitary. You're hated. You're hunted. You're literally alone. You practice alone. Death follows you. All my friends are dead. Most of my coven mates are dead. Okay? People in my personal life that I've known for years, dead. Back in the early 2010, I got into seminary school. Started learning how to become a minister. 2011, becoming an ordained deacon. Again, you look at what a necromancer is. You look at the jobs that necromancers seek out. I'm talking gravedigger, um, ministers, funerary homemakers. Okay, I'm talking hospital personnel within a morgue technician. Wherever death is, even a thanatologist seeks out death, and so becoming a minister in 2013, an ordained minister in 2013, I was well on my way to where I am now. But here it is, 6 years, 6 years as a practicing necromancer. My present, looking back at my past, you look at the trials, you look at the endeavors that I've undertaken, the various different forms of religious philosophy and theurgy that I've studied, practiced, and even taught right here on my YouTube channel. I mean, you're looking at content going back 13, 14 years. I mean, you're looking at almost 15 years worth of online videos, ranging from 7 minutes to almost 2.5 hours. You look at this stuff and you look at all the information that is put forth from biblical content to satanic practices to necromancy to African Caribbean traditions to Druidism, even alchemy. And the one thing that I'm very proud of is the necromantic. Out of all that I've practiced, the one thing that I'm proud of is becoming a necromancer. Because when I look back, this is where I was meant to be. This is what I was meant to become. So you can't dismiss your past, no matter what hardships, no matter what trials. that you have undergone. Don't even your enemies that you've had, because you will have enemies over your career. You will have enemies. You will have adversaries who come and go from your life. They don't define you. They're just acknowledging the good works that you're doing. That's all they're doing. They can hate, they can spew lies, they can do whatever the fuck they want. But when it comes down to it, free publicity. That's all I got to say there. Free publicity. So when you look at it, how does this define your future? And if you're noticing that little furball in the back behind me, that's Ademir Taibon. That's Arabic for Prince T-Bone. He's the kitten. He's about 2 years old. A little over 2 years old by now, but he's a good boy. He's daddy's boy. I don't know where the other one went. But anyways, my point is this. These individuals spread your name, and it grabs the curiosity of others who come and check you out. Check out your content. And they come to you and it's like, hey, I've learned more from your videos than I've learned in such and such a time. I can't believe so-and-so is talking smack about you. Who cares what they're saying? I don't give a shit what they're saying about me. It doesn't bother me. Because this journey is mine. Just like your journey is yours. Okay? So you will make enemies. You will come across adversaries. And these people, even though they talk smack about you, even though they try to tear you down, to knock you off your pedestal, push through. Strive to go beyond them. Just stay steadfast. And you will be triumphant. The reason for that is because that little bit of friction should be an indicator to you that you're on the right path. It means that you have kicked up dust. It means that you have touched a nerve that has forced them to act out in aggression or in some other manner. You see, that's the past coming to the present. But there comes a time when you have to sit there and look back over your journey and wonder, how the fuck did I not see this path coming? How did I not jump on this path full time back when I first got interested in necromancy? I mean, there's a time and a place for everything. There's a balance factor in sorcery. But looking back, I first studied necromancy back in 2011. 2011. I dabbled in it. But it wasn't until 6 years ago that I fully got interested in necromancy. And I found a home and I found a purpose within my current path. So fast forwarding to the last 24 to 48 hours. Every day I am in my temple, meditating, communing with spirits. But for the last week, because of the atmospheric pressure systems that have been moving through this region, I've been in a lot of pain because of former injuries. And I've blown out my shoulders, dislocated my one shoulder, blew out the other shoulder. I've had bad knees, due to injuries and everything. Hell, I got two pins in one in this thumb for life. But here it is. So I went to a couple of my elders, and I said, "Hey, I know you guys have spoken on this, but how do you do it? This is what I've been experiencing because of these former ailments. What can I do to do this?" Well, guess what? One of them replied to me and gave me in just two small paragraphs, gave me months worth of things to study. Months. So here I am looking at the future. And I was talking with a friend of mine tonight because we went down to Dunkin', got a couple coffees. This is my second. Okay. And we were sitting there talking about this past week, about how we kind of felt a little depressed because of the pain and the ailments of former injuries and stuff like that. And it was amazing. It was kind of interesting that he and I were experiencing the same things, but different injuries. So I started telling him, I said, "Hey, this is what was suggested to me, and this is what I've been looking into, and it's an interesting because when I actually took the advice of my elder, and I immediately started looking into the injuries that I've sustained to my body, my vessel, over the last decade, if not longer, probably about 13 years, okay, since my first physical injury. Okay. I looked at this and it was like, okay, so number one, I got to find the root cause of this pain, the injury itself. What caused that injury, that particular injury? So I looked up, you know, the what causes the inflammation of a bursa, for an example. Now you look at the two injuries that I've had that one knee. Okay, I'm talking a partially torn ligament. I'm talking about a carpenter's nail going into the knee joint itself. Okay, just in the knee itself. Now I started delving into anatomy. Okay, this is medical stuff. Okay, to break down the knee itself, from the tibia to the femur to the bursa to the cartilage, that little flimsy little disc that is in the dead center there, that's surrounded by the bursa, that helps protect. It's like a padding to the knee joint type thing. Then you have the bursa, and then you have these three sacs. You got the ligaments on top of that, stabilizers. Okay. Now, why am I still having flare ups after almost 13 years in that knee? I mean, it gets so painful that I can't even bend my knee, or sometimes I can't even straighten the knee, the leg. I have to keep it bent, either a leg immobilizer or a knee brace on. Okay. So here it is. How do you reverse this stuff? How do you deal with this stuff? Okay. And same thing with the shoulder. You know what I'm saying? Now, when I had my shoulder injury, even every so often, right here, you feel, depending on the weather system moving through, you have what is known as a pressure, kind of like a bubble, if you will, that's in the muscle that creates a flare up. Okay, kind of like the original injury that took place that affected from here up. Okay, I mean, I went from lip benching over around 200 pounds with just one arm. Okay, to the point where I couldn't even lift 3 pounds because of that shoulder injury. It affected this muscle, the tricep right here. Okay, it affected the shoulder. My hand was completely numb. The entire arm and shoulder was numb for 6 months, and it gradually popped, going all the way out. Okay. Now, like I said, after 6 months with my arm in a sling, I found out I have upper back nerve damage. Okay. There's a nerve that runs this way. Okay. And it connects to the shoulder joint and goes down into the arm. Hence why you get the pain down the arm. So I started looking at the muscle groups. I started looking at the nervous system. Okay. I started looking at how physical therapists recommend how you work out, especially around those infected areas. Okay. I started looking at the very medical terminology surrounding each injury that I've had, that I've sustained. And as I was talking to my friend, I was thinking Roadhouse, Patrick Swayze in the ER after he got his side sliced open by that guy with the switchblade. He hands the portfolio to the doctor and said that had every injury noted. It's like I got to get me one of these. You know, you know. So here it is. You know, I started thinking about this, and it's like, huh, okay. How do you heal yourself through sorcery? Through black magic. How do you heal from these injuries? How do you utilize herbalism? Okay, I've done videos in the past about how certain fruits and vegetables and herbs can actually help you. Okay, from mint, for an example, anything that has mint in it is a natural immune booster. Okay, lemons are great for blood purifying and preventing kidney stones and gallbladders. And garlic prevents various different kinds of cancer. Okay, so there's a lot of things that you can do in that region. But how do you utilize herbs, plants, and vegetables and all this stuff along with sorcery to heal yourself? Well, after studying the muscle groups, there's one thing that I've noticed that just about every system of magic has out there. It doesn't matter if it's tantric, it doesn't matter if it's yogic, it doesn't matter if it's Kabbalah, Hermetic. Okay, it doesn't matter what system you're in. You have to work the mind, the body, and the spirit. Okay, and I started thinking about the three main practices: astral projection, remote viewing, and projection. Okay, now one of the things that I flash back on, because I did read the works of Darkness, okay, put out by Balg. And on page 197 to 200 in the works of Darkness, it speaks about psionic warfare. It speaks about being able to remote view a target, in another room or in another location. Okay. And you're doing this by projecting your ka, your spirit, your soul, your consciousness out into the universe to see that person or that object while you're in a whole different other location. Now, how can you do this to heal yourself? Well, that's the main question. Okay. And I'm going to tell you that at this point, I don't even know where to begin. Okay. On how to do this on myself. Because there's a lot of medical terminologies and practices out there. Thanatology is the study of death and dying. Okay. So understanding death, understanding the necrosis aspect. There's a practice out there called necrotic surgery. And this deals with a lot of things from the bones to the blood to the muscles and so forth. And along with pain and everything like that. And what it deals with is if you've ever had a shattered bone, what doctors normally do is they go in under surgery and they cut that bone and kind of clean it up. Okay. And then they'll put a metal rod in there and then put the skin over it. Okay. Along with the muscles and everything, and attach it that way. And over the next 2 to 3 years, that bone is growing along that metal rod. Okay. And it connects where it's supposed to. Okay. And that bone is infused at that connecting point to be stronger. All right. So if we take the same analogy, Okay, and the same visual imprint right there. Okay, I want you to think about this for just a second, because what is necrotic surgery? You're basically killing off the corrupted or the damaged part of yourself. Even Cagliostro, the necromancer, in her book Blood Sorcery Bible, Volume 1, about three-fourths through her book, gives like 20, maybe 30 pages of different locations on your body that you can cut and make stronger through bloodletting, through blood magnetics. So, in a safe manner. Now, as I was reading this, I started thinking about this, because for what I'm considering doing from a black magician perspective and utilizing black magic on myself, I'm going to have to take in a lot of death essence into myself as a necromancer, going into, say, for example, lichdom, becoming a lick. It's the path of the lick, the grave lord and such like that. It's one of those things that you have to become a parent to death. You have to be accustomed to it. If you think of transfiguration or trans mortification processes, in general, you're becoming a better being through knowledge and wisdom and through the practices itself. So you have to go in and eliminate targeting that affected area and the root cause. You have to identify it. You have to eliminate it and then create it again and heal from it. You're basically getting rid of the corrupted and damaged material to make way and pave way for a better version of yourself, basically. It's like being reborn again, but more as a healing process. I mean, there's evidence of practitioners in certain cultures and certain religions where they can generate so much heat that they don't need jackets in the dead of winter. So if people can do that, imagine what you can do with the death essence in black magic to heal yourself. But like I said, I just started researching this last night. Okay, last night. So, and I've already got like I don't know, about 6 pages worth of notes taken already between the shoulder and the knee. And I still got the hand, and I still got the ankle, and I've got the neck and everything like that, and I got to go into the nervous system and all that stuff too before I can do anything. So I mean, like I said, just from the 2 paragraphs that was given to me, I've got months. I've got weeks, if not months worth of information that I'm going to have to study and bear grit. I'm talking pure elbow grease to even begin to have a clear understanding about necrotic surgery and the practices and how to utilize this within black magic. So, and trust me, as a experienced practitioner, even I've got to say this is something new to me. I don't know what to expect, and I don't know what's going to come. But when you're reflecting on your past and present, you got to see how everything you're doing leads you to where you are today. But look at your future. Where are you trying to work to? What are you trying to accomplish? Okay. Now, I already know where I want to be and what I want to work towards. And I know you don't need to know that. Okay. But what I'm saying is your future can change. You know, It can change, but it can also help you to navigate minefields. It can show you things, especially through divination processes. I mean, I'm constantly doing cartomancy readings. I'm constantly utilizing my runes to determine things going on in my life, such as all this pain and the way I'm feeling. So even Christopher Penziak in his third book, The Temple of Shamanic Witchcraft, gives off different clinical perspectives of the brain, breaking it down, and how the shadow self and the things that we experience we push into the back of our brains. So there's a lot of practitioners who's actually touched on this stuff. Now it's a matter of delving into it and going, hey, how can I apply all of this to benefit me? Question is, can you benefit yourselves doing the same thing if you've got those ailments? It's not about money. It's not about power. It's about healing yourself, because only through transfiguration of the soul, through transmortification of the body, the flesh, can you evolve into a better being, a better practitioner. So keep that in mind. All right. With that said, I will keep you up to date on how this is going with me. Now, keep in mind, I'm still practicing necromancy. I'm still practicing sorcery. And yes, I'm even still researching on various different topics. And I'm applying them to my practices. Okay. And I'm still offering my services to my clients. Okay. But here it is. I'm just not doing it online much anymore, because I'm trying to get offline a lot of the time. I just want to be me instead of an elder and a teacher. I just want to be me. I want to practice. You know what I'm saying? It's what I love doing. It's not just about being a minister for my patron and patroness. You know, it's not about working with my legionnaires and my guardians and my muse, the muses and all that stuff. It's about being better. It's about bettering myself through knowledge and wisdom. That's what it's about. Okay. If I get to help somebody else out in the process and kind of make something a little bit more apparent to them, all good. It's all good. You know what I'm saying? Technically, it's not a holy demon, it's an unholy demon. If you follow, say, for an example, Turk Suzij, the demonic Bible, Connor, it's referred to as the unholy guardian demon. Okay. Just saying. A little bit of a correction there. That's all that is. You can call it whatever you want. It's up to you. But a lot of practices refer to them as unholy guardian demons, or guardian demons, for that matter. Very, very much true. Well, you got to remember, Connor, it's not just about having them heal you. It's about you learning how to do it yourself, so you don't have to rely on them. Think of a parent, a child to a parent. A child doesn't want to be dependent on a parent all their life, because eventually that parent is going to die. Okay. And then where will you be? You'll be up a creek without a paddle. You won't be able to do anything. So you got to learn how to do this stuff on your own. It's like you can't have a spirit mix a potion or an elixir for you. You have to learn how to break down the basic root elements into its most natural state, and then put it in the right mixture so that it does not harm you in a physical sense, like life threatening. perspectives, if you will. Okay, as an example, you want to be able to break it down so that it will give you the results that is needed, but not take your life. So it would be like drinking poisons. I mean, look at all these snake wranglers. Okay, how many of them have been bitten and literally allow poisonous snakes to inject their venom into them to become immune to the toxin so that they can find a cure? Okay, basically, a necromancer does the exact same thing. Okay, so a demon can show you how to do it. They can show you what path to take, what herbs or plants or what material will be needed. But eventually, you've got to learn to do this stuff on your own. Okay, that's all I'm saying there. Now you can call on them and say, "Hey, I need your assistance. Can you help heal me?" But I'm also going to petition you to show me and to teach me how to do this so I don't have to rely on you as much. It's part of growing up. It's a part of maturing in your path. Okay. The Black Tower. Welcome, brother. Long time no see. Yeah, see, that's basically hypocrisy and duality right there, Connor. Okay, it's like going to the Christians and saying, "Hey, I want to get into heaven. How do I do that?" Well, first of all, you can't do it by yourself. But wait, he's the only way. This puts you in a servitude, perspective. Okay, you just put yourself into a slavehood. Okay, so these practitioners are who telling you that you can't, you wouldn't recommend doing it because it may not work. Well, guess what? If you call on Satan, but yet you don't believe in Satan, why doesn't your shit work? Because doubt is failure. Okay, so if you're going to do something, if you're going to invoke a spirit or a group of spirits for, say, for an example, let's go with evocation ceremony to, let's say, vile magics. Okay, let's say you're going to curse somebody. Okay, number one, you got to have the knowledge of the tools, the correct tools for the job. Okay, number two, you got to know what spirits you got to call and to summon to help you out. Okay, because number one, these spirits will guide you through this ceremony, and they may even recommend that you alter your plans to add something, maybe even take something away. I've had spirits that I worked with about a year or two ago that I was doing this curse, and I was doing a hex, a jar spell. I was just using a hex jar, and all of a sudden I had this ringing in my head. I had this voice saying, "Box, box, 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 box." And I'm thinking to myself, what the fuck do you mean box? You know what I'm saying? But and then I realized Dibbit box. A Dibbit box is a Jewish box that is built specifically to house a spirit that is baneful to humanity. But it's not just limited to a spirit. It's also can be incorporated into hexcraft and vile magics. So you can combine them, make it more potent, especially if you add in seals, herbs, bones, effigies such as a lock of hair or something that has their saliva, their DNA, even a photo that has an imprint of that person. You can put this all in there along with the herbs and the minerals and stuff like that. They can go into this stuff. Okay, so you got to have the knowledge and understand what the spirits are saying to you and how they're guiding you. So again, back to the original statement of eventually you got to start learning to do this stuff on your own. They'll only help you so far. So But yeah, you can I, if you're going to call on a spirit, you got to know um, what tools for what job. You got to know what spirits to call. And number two, you can't have fear doing this stuff. You can't. If you're having doubts, you shouldn't have your ass in the fucking altar room. You shouldn't even be lighting candles, calling on spirits. That's all I got to say to it. Okay. But these morons out there today, they're a bunch of hypocrites. They don't even have a fucking clue about what they're doing. 9 times out of 10, they're atheistics, plain devil worshiper. You can't be an atheist and calling on demons because you've already made up your mind that demons don't exist. Heaven and hell don't exist. You can only believe in what is proven scientifically, like the A bomb, for an example. Oh, that's real. Okay, this is chemistry. It's real. But a demon, fuck that shit. I'll call on him for words of power, but guess what? I don't believe it. You see the issue there. Okay. Basically, yeah. You're putting that's where projection comes in, the Black Tower. You're talking about projection because you're taking the item and you're taking the tools, you're casting the right, you're casting the spell, you're utilizing the mantra or the words of power to cast your will, your intent into that ritual or that spell. Okay, that's what you're doing. Well, I wouldn't rely totally on spirits, though. I mean, it is good to commune with your patrons and patronesses, but on the other hand, I would recommend looking into seals, things like seals that cancel out negativity, all forms of hexcraft, and just stopping it, dead in its tracks, obliterating it. Reversals, protection magics, cloaking seals. Norse magics, for an example, the Gilgal, what is it, the Rod Skinner that was broken down into two aspects, um, in Norse mythology. This red book had spells and rites and runes that were created specifically for protection, for blocking negative energies, and a lot of other things as well. If you get into the hexa, for an example, which is Swedish, okay, witchcraft, Scandinavian and Slavic and all that region, then you will notice that even down into Middle Eastern, such as Babylonia, Akkadian, Sumerian, even um, Slovakian, okay, Germanic, Proto-Germanic magics. They all used runes. They all used seals of some kind to cloak themselves, to gain power, but also to do things with them that most would find useless. But these are things that I have found personally in the last 6 years to be very, very potent sources of power. Okay, it's much they're right up there equivalent to a relic of power. Okay, I'm talking a totem, for an example, or a relic such as a phylactery, an amulet, a talisman. And when you learn how to utilize these things and to create them, they can become some serious forces to be put into play into your arsenal of offensive and defensive magics. So, sec here. I mean, I wouldn't call forth a archangel, from the Hebreatic JCI perspectives. No, But I mean, if you actually look at it, there are fallen angels that you can work with. I mean, for an example, let's go with Azazel for an example. Azazel is a demon that can teach you alchemy. Okay, Belial is another one that can teach you alchemy. Soroth is another one that can teach you alchemy. Okay, so teaching you how to create things like swords and shields, for an example, or teaching you how to create makeup. Okay, you look at the spirit, the fallen angel. Each one has a gift that they can teach you. Sometimes it's common things, whereas other times it's independent things. Like if you're going for spirituality and you're looking into necromancy, you'd go with Seer, Bifron. You'd work with Murmur. Okay. Each one of these deal with necromantic spiritual entities and tools of necromancy, but in different manners of uses and how should I say this, technology, if you will, if you catch the metaphor there. That's why I don't pay any attention to them, Connor, because a lot of these people you got to remember are just there to be armchair magicians. They're into the shit. They're into the fucking dogma, the regurgitated materials. And if you're not a part of their way, then you're basically doing things wrong. Okay. That's why if you're going to learn something, you got to do it for yourself. Okay. It is the practices are about you and where you're taking them. Okay. The spirits can guide you, they can teach you, but you're the one that's got to do the work. Basically, Black Tower, yes. Doctors first, then magical avenues is my personal go to. Basically, yeah. Like I said earlier, I went through my medical files that I have here in the apartment, and I was going over the x-rays, I was going over the reports of where the damage was to my body for each injury. And then I went into Google and I started looking up at these injuries and what they were described as. And I was surprised that there were different types of these injuries. Okay. So, yeah, going to the doctor's stuff first helps you to understand what your injury was and how they ended up classifying what type of injury it was. Okay, you got to remember that there's acidic and non-acidic. Okay, there are those that heal on their own with cooling, icing, resting, and the medications like ibuprofen, Tylenol, a sling for 6 months, or surgical. Okay, with my hand, I took the surgical, and surprise, surprise, the doctors fucked it up. So I got two pins in that thumb, and that's as far as I can bend this knuckle here. Okay, this knuckle. That's as far as I can bend it. Let me bring it back here. Apparently, I'm not a meteorologist because my hand's way the fuck over here. I can't sit there and go, here it is. So, but yeah, you can see that's as far as I can bend that knuckle. And I'm literally straining right now to try to bend it. But I've got full range of motion because this broke this way. It was a severe break. So they did two screws, one going in this way and one going down this way. Took me about 3 months to heal from this. So again, something to look into. So, like I said, I went into the medical, I went into Google, and I started learning about it. Okay, I started learning about the acidic, the non-acidic, the healing, the surgical. I started learning about the different types of muscular um, injuries that can occur, from tearing to how a simple tear can easily go into other muscles. I didn't even know that. Okay. And I used to read my mother's my foster mother's. I call her my mother because she's the one that raised me. But my mother's medical books, because she was a medical transcriptionist for a number of years. I'm talking over 20 years. So, I used to read this one book that was about the anatomy, and something about it always fascinated me. It was the bones. Maybe it was because, I was fascinated with the Japanese versions of martial arts, the Korean version of martial arts, and then you get into the forms of different types of torture because I see something in a movie and it's like, I got to research this. What is it about this that causes extreme pain? Well, basically, that's what I'm doing today is studying my own body, my own injuries, but I'm utilizing the imagery. I downloaded several photos from different perspectives of those injuries so that I can sit there and study them. I can learn them and I can sit there and go, okay, if we used acupuncture for an example, would this stimulate that nerve? Would it stimulate those muscles? Maybe get some more blood flow, which would bring life back into those corrupted and those decayed regions. Could certain workouts create stronger muscles in that region? Okay. Like working, for an example, with my knee injury that I had, well, the two knee injuries in that one knee that were in the same location or just very, very close to that same location. Working the calf muscle and the hamstring strengthens that knee and wards off at least 80%, if not 95% of the swelling and inflammation that I've had in the past. Okay, that just flares up every so often, depending on where I'm working and what I'm doing. Okay, and it also depends on the level of inflammation that causes severe pain. Am I going to need my knee brace, or am I going to need the leg immobilizer because it's going to affect the stabilizers that surround the knee? Okay, and trust me, that is the weirdest fucking feeling you will ever have because those stabilizers keep that knee joint in place. And when one is weakened, your knee joint shifts inside your leg. And trust me, it will take you right down to the floor if you're not prepared. So it does work. So, like I said, I'm still studying this, so I'm at the beginning stages of it. So I got to learn it. Correct. The Black Spirit, the Black Tower. You're very much correct on that. The one thing I've learned in my career as a practitioner is they don't know what you want is not always apparent. I've had things right up in my face, but I've also had to work for it. I've had things that's been made of I've been made a parent of, and I've gone out looking for it and I couldn't find it. Okay. For an example, and I had these three girls that I grew up with. They all live in other states now, but here it is. Well, one lives in this state, but the other two have moved out of state. But here it is. Their mother was killed by a drunk driver. Okay. Decapitated, basically. The guy was a repeat offender. He killed three people out of the four that was in the vehicle that he struck. Literally was driving a jacked up fucking truck and went right up over him. Okay. So their mother's favorite song um, was called Angel Eyes. Okay. Now, I didn't know, I was a kid back then. So I didn't know the name of the band. I only knew that the name of the song was Angel Eyes. And when I started researching that, there was a lot of different bands that had songs by that name. Okay. You're looking at 25 years worth of patience, of searching in silence. 25 years, over 25 years. You're looking at almost 30 years, if not a little bit longer, of because I was in elementary school when this took place. Okay. I'm now 44 years old. Okay. So you're looking at over 30 years, just about, of silence, looking for this one song, trying to find out what album it's on, who performed that song. I found it last year and I ordered 4 copies of it, one for each of these 3 sisters and one for my mother. And do you know what was interesting about that? Each and every single one of these, my mother and these 3 sisters were completely surprised. They had no fucking clue I was looking for it. Working with demons is the exact same thing. It could be in your face right up front, or it could be down the road as you progress. You could be eliminating each source one by one, and then all of a sudden they'll just swoop in and go, here it is. It could be a month, a year, a decade, or 3 decades down the road, and it'll just happen. Very true, Connor. And yes, shadow work is something that's very interesting. I recommend looking into the shadow work of certain communities, if you will, within shamanism. I actually found one that, let's just say, through my research into shadow work, I actually found a very closed off group that, let's just say, their priesthood, their rites are very, very powerful, and I can see why they were silent through many, many years. Much like the Agorai of India, this particular group is just like them, completely dedicated, isolated, and for the most part, outside the community's perspectives. But anyways, wow, been on here for 60 minutes. Holy crap, time flies when you're having fun. But anyways, I'm gonna go hit the books again. I'm gonna get on Google and continue my journey within this path working. I'm going to continue researching the various different techniques of necrotic surgery and chat and a lot of other things, and see where it leads me before I begin to utilize any form of of death essence or black magic to even begin to do this stuff. So, like I said, I mean, it did give me, like I said, it's going to take me weeks, if not months, just from the 2 paragraphs that was given to me. So, all right. I want to thank Connor Maynard for jumping on here with me. I want to thank the Black Tower for jumping on here with me. It's an honor, guys, especially you, brother, Black Tower. It's been a long time. Haven't talked to you in a while. Glad to see you on here tonight. means a lot. For those of you who are coming on after the fact, I hope you find what was discussed here and in my other videos enlightening. And if you like it and you want to know more and you want to, be notified, you know where the notification button is, you know where the subscribe button is, click them, and I'll see you when I see you. All right. Have a good night. And until next time, I'm out.